What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Candy's Classic Game Shrine. If I look tired, I am. I've been up for quite some time, or I was up for quite some time last night watching the Switch presentation. I woke up early this morning, and I'm running on fumes. I'm gonna give you all my opinion. Let's just say this now. My opinion. I'm just some random bitch on the internet. My opinion doesn't mean shit to Nintendo. It ain't gonna mean shit to most people here. But there are people that have asked me what I thought about the Nintendo Switch presentation, so here goes. I'm going to start off with the positives. I didn't see it as a complete dumpster fire. There were definitely a few pros to this. And even some funny moments that you can take from this. First pro that I find is the lack of region locking. Thank goodness. For all these people out there that like the JRPGs and a bunch of other games that are normally censored in heavily censored countries like Germany, it's nice to be able to have an outlet to get something that's better or something that you enjoy that you can't normally get. Hooray, first baby steps into the 21st century of gaming, Nintendo. Congrats. Also, the Mario Odyssey game looks really good. You can always count on Nintendo to have a dependable Mario title, and despite it looking like Sonic Adventure in the beginning, and even a little bit of Sonic 06, it looks promising. It looks like a good title, and can't wait to see people play it. Another thing people can look forward to is that the Virtual Console will return. It hasn't been officially stated in the presentation last night, but if you look on Nintendo's website, they posted a lot more information, and you will be receiving free NES and SNES titles with your paid monthly subscription to online multiplayer. We'll get to that can of worms in a bit, but it's more or less like your Xbox Live Gold membership, how you get your free monthly games. Sort of. Again, we'll get to that when we get there. Excuse me. Touchscreen. They return, or remain. A lot of games that Nintendo make, they're very dependent on touch, and ones that would be eventually ported, I imagine, would need the touchscreen. So it's very good that they brought that back, so you got more options in the Virtual Console, possibly. Nothing specifically was said, but I think having the touchscreen will definitely help. Even modern games on Sony or Microsoft platforms can use them for certain things. Sonic Mania. It's coming to the Switch. I'm getting it for Xbox One personally, but it's good that people have the option to have it for a Nintendo console. It's a little weird seeing it on a Nintendo console still, as a kid of the 80s/90s, but good. Should be fun. I think it's going to be a fun game, good game. Here's hoping Sega did well this time. There's going to be a new Binding of Isaac coming to the Switch. It's technically not new. Afterbirth is what's coming to it. It's been around for a while on Steam and I think a couple other platforms, but it's good to have it come to the Switch again. Let's see. Another pro, the release date is soon. You don't have to wait like a year, 6 months or whatever. You only gotta wait like a month and a half. That's not too bad. And you can start your pre-orders for it today. And I think it's still pretty readily available to pre-order them, actually. There's a few special editions that are getting difficult, but it's special editions. So, at least Nintendo seems to be handling the pre-orders much better than the NES Classic and the Amiibo and previous Nintendo things. The handheld resolution is going to be 720p. That's pretty bomb. I mean, I'm not expecting like Super HD, 1080, whatever the hell it is. 720 I think is more than enough for a little tablet handheld device. Here's hoping that your television resolution is just as good or better. I don't think Nintendo's released specs yet. Another pro that I like that most people are torn on is the format of their media. I like that it's a cartridge or kind of like a SD card, because optical media doesn't stand the test of time as well as cartridges do. As somebody who had many games before they were all stolen of both formats, the cartridges always held up better. I had one dead NES game and at least 5 dead CDs, partially because I would lend my games out and then my uncle would borrow them and he was a bit rough with them, but at least cartridges you don't have to worry as much. They're a lot more resistant. Let's see. The HD rumble feature in the Joy-Cons and the Joy-Cons themselves are pretty cool. I think the haptic feedback in them will be pretty cool to experience. It's nice that they have so much tech jammed into something so small. However, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because it increases the price. But I mean, I guess that's new tech. They're usually expensive. Another con, and the last one that I have on my list for now, is that it has continued amiibo support. As a collector, I kind of am like, fuck, they're going to keep coming out with more. But at the same time, it's like, okay, cool. People can continue to use what they've collected so far. So that's pretty good. They're at least helping their consumers that much. But now for the cons, the not so nice bits. There's a few, so bear with me one moment. I have the world's worst eyes, so seeing is difficult. Okay. Alright. First thing, which is kind of not so much a con, it's kind of in the middle, is the price. Is it expensive? When you're comparing it to the Scorpio and the PS4 Pro, I think it's called, no. When you're comparing it to other previous Nintendo consoles, yes. Is it too much, like, too expensive? Not by much. I think $250 would have been the sweet spot for this console. The $300 is going to make or break people, especially in areas where the exchange rate is quite rough, like Canada. But, I mean, it's kind of like in the middle. Sorry, guys. My phone is ringing again. It's Friday night. I've noticed now they seem to be focusing a bit more on it as a home console, or a console that you take somewhere and then dock and charge and use, rather than what the teaser initially showed, where people were playing in concerts, in halls, in taxis, in airplanes. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure you're still going to be able to do that, but the more taxing games, which is going to bring me to my next point, are only going to last about 2.5 to 3 hours at most. Nintendo has come out and said that Zelda will be about 2.5 to 3 hours in gameplay. It's because it's a very demanding game, very pretty game. So, it's kind of rough with that battery life to keep it as a portable. It's about as portable as the Virtual Boy. It's better off tethered to a wall than charged with batteries. And I love my Virtual Boy. Fucking love him. But that battery life is kind of... Nintendo, you need to work on it, either with an extended battery or third parties to come out with an extended battery. Or come out with an efficient way to run the games. Let's see. Nintendo, I kind of think I know why you did this, but I wish you didn't do this. Even though I'd probably still be like, what? If you did. why didn't you give us any specs? I mean, you gave us some. You gave us a little bit on battery life. You gave us the resolution on the handheld, and the price point. But nobody knows the internals. Personally, I don't give a shit about the internals. I'm a content over graphics kind of person. But I know plenty of people were dying to know, and a lot of those, specs would have helped answer a lot of other questions that people had. Hopefully you come out soon and say it, and I hope you're not holding back saying it because it's going to piss people off because it's underpowered. I mean, we know it's going to be underpowered. You're not here to compete with the top dogs. You haven't been in that, that tier in quite some time. So just be honest with us. Just fucking tell us. Well, excuse me one moment while I organize this so I don't repeat myself. This one isn't so much of a con as it is something that I laughed at. The presenters and the translators for the entire presentation were so bad. So bad it was comical. I felt like I was watching a really old 70s kung fu movie almost. I feel like they were probably overworked, overtired, and just, oh God, I feel bad for them. It felt like people were falling asleep. It felt like people didn't know what the hell they were supposed to be saying. I found it funny. But I know they're a professional company. They're supposed to present themselves in a professional manner. It was not holding well. But hey, thanks for the laughs. It's a great way to make a negative a positive. However, back to the negatives. Motherfucking motion controls? Really? Really? Stop trying to resell the Wii. We understand it sold very well for you. It was a very successful console on paper, and it was very innovative for its time. But holy crap, man, motion controls being jammed down our throat is not what we want. Learn from Star Fox Zero. That's all I'm saying. Having it tossed in and sprinkled in everywhere, or every once in a while, where it's cute, where it's novel, it's okay, but don't force it on us. Holy fuck, do not force it on us. Please make sure you give the option. Okay. Now I'm going to touch on something that I briefly brought up when I was mentioning pros. This is the forced paid multiplayer. They're having a free trial for the first couple of months, which is cool, but if you're a late adopter, you're fucked. Basically, they're going to charge you X amount of money per month. They haven't come out and said how much. And they're going to give you some features: voice chat, online multiplayer, access to free NES and SNES titles, kind of like an Xbox Live Gold membership, and a few other bells and whistles. Here's the catch. If anyone has ever played online with a Nintendo console, even with a Wii U and the new 3DS, their online is terrible. The infrastructure is like fucking Sega Dreamcast level, pretty much, in comparison to others. And it's just not a very pleasant experience. And they're always running into bogged down servers. And I really hope that if they're going to be charging people money, that they're going to overhaul their entire system so people can actually get their money's worth. I'm not dropping a dime unless they overhaul. That's it. I love Pokemon to death, and its eventual release on the Switch is going to happen, but if their online is abysmal, I'm not going to pay for it on top of the game, on top of the console, on top of Pokebank. I'm sorry. And with the free games, they're technically not free. I understand Microsoft and Sony do a thing where if you're no longer a subscriber to their membership, you can no longer play the games that you got for your monthly free game. However, this isn't even going to be the case with Nintendo, according to Polygon and a couple other sites. Excuse me. Nintendo is basically giving you them as a free trial, and then you have to purchase them if you want. So they're pretty much only good for that month or so that they're free. Nintendo, really? You're launching what's going to be likely a shaky paid online subscription. You could at least let people have the games for free, as long as they're a subscriber. I really hope you revise that. I don't know. Let's see. Next up is the lack of launch titles, at least ones that have been announced so far. This is post-Treehouse information. There aren't many games that are coming out on launch day that have at least officially been said. 1-2 Switch, ARMS, and I think Zelda Breath of the Wild are the 3 games. And for me personally, I'm not a big Zelda fan. I know, stone me, lynch me, whatever. It's a gorgeous game. I give a lot of credit for the lore and all the work that goes into it. It's just not something I enjoy playing. I'll watch people, but I won't play it. But the games that are coming out on launch, they're not my thing. I was kind of hoping for a Mario title. Not because, I'm a Mario fangirl, but because Mario is a title that can kind of reach more audiences more than Zelda. Zelda's a more dedicated audience. Mario is a more broad audience. But I guess that's what they're hoping with the 1-2 Switch and the ARMS game to do. Here's hoping that they come out with more launch titles so that people that maybe aren't into Zelda can pick something else up that they can enjoy. Because I know I can't be the only person out there that feels that way. Excuse my dog, she's barking. My husband might be on his way home. One thing I have to note, Nintendo, why the hell is your Pro Controller so expensive? I can kind of understand the Joy-Cons being $80, but why the Pro Controller at $70? Is this to make up for low costs for selling the Switch at $300? It's a little crazy. I might hold off for Hori, for third-party controllers and stuff. That's a bit hefty. Or at least wait for secondhand, because that's an option. I really don't feel like ARMS is worthy of the title of new IP. Myself, I'm not a huge fan of Splatoon. It's fun, but I can't delve as many hours as so many of you do into it. But I think that was way more deserving of the new IP title and praise than ARMS does. I've been watching the footage on the presentation last night. I watched it on the Treehouse presentation. It doesn't look fun. It doesn't look like something you can identify and remember. It looks like a cheesy side game of Punch-Out almost. Something that could be tossed into like a Switch party games or minigame thing, or even 1-2 Switch, tossed it in with that. Sorry, but yeah, that's kind of how it is. That's how I see it. Here's another one. This is probably going to piss off a lot of people. Probably more than the fact that I dislike, or not that I dislike Zelda, but I'm not into Zelda. I'm not into JRPGs and RPGs. And this system is chock full of them so far. It's becoming increasingly hard for me to find a game so far that's being launched that I'm going to thoroughly enjoy, and that would make me want to be a day one adopter. I know that that's a huge pro for some people, but for me it's a con. I'm not really going to go any further into that because that's a very specific personal preference. Let's see. I dislike that people are going to have to rebuy all of the Wii U titles as deluxe ports. It's gonna suck, especially for all the people that traded the Wii U in to purchase the Switch. They have no way of going back and playing these games. There's no backwards compatibility. I understand that completely, and I don't even see the lack of backwards compatibility as a con. It's just the natural progression of technology. But it sucks that people are going to have to rebuy these titles, especially just for a couple little bits of bells and whistles that could have been likely DLC. Properly done DLC. Forgive me, I'm reading my notes. Okay, this is a con, but it's also very funny at the same time. Let's see. When Nintendo was displaying the features of the controller, they went over a button, and it made me laugh. And I know some of you are already like, ah, okay. So, yeah. Nintendo, what the fuck is the share button for? Is that just to make it easier so you can copyright claim everybody's shit? Like, it's not like Miiverse is going to exist, so we can't post it on your own platform. It's going to be shared to YouTube, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, whatever the popular social media outlet of the month is. Are you seriously going to be loosening up your grip on people's content and copyright? I'm not holding my breath. I really think this is probably just a way for them to take your shit down easier. This isn't necessarily a con, but this is just something to keep in mind. They said they have over 80 projects in the works for the Switch. Awesome. I hope every game is a success. I hope every game comes out. I wish Nintendo well. I mean, fuck, look behind me. This is pretty much nothing but Nintendo. My whole life. I think my first non-Nintendo console was a PlayStation 1. Well, if you're counting handhelds, then the Game Gear, but whatever, I digress. Just because there's 80 projects in the works doesn't mean they'll happen. There were over 100 projects in the works for the Virtual Boy. The Virtual Boy became a flop, and Nintendo and all of the third parties axed all the projects. So that's something to keep in mind. I love my Virtual Boy. I have 2 of them. But just because there's a lot of projects doesn't mean they'll all happen. I hope for Nintendo's sake, I hope for the developers' sake, I hope for the consumer's sake, they all come out and do well. But we'll see. Just something to keep in mind. Let's see. With my last point, my closing point, I noticed that they mentioned a launch date for Zelda Breath of the Wild for the Switch. Awesome. People have been dying to know when this will be launched. However, I didn't hear anything about the Wii U launch. This has been something people have been waiting for since damn near the launch of the Wii U. And I really don't want Nintendo to shelf it and fuck those people over. I'm not going to be purchasing Zelda, but I don't want to see other people get shafted. That's pretty much it. With that said, with all of my opinions and points mentioned, these can and possibly will change. Nintendo can be like, holy shit, guys, we're dumb. We realized we fucked up on some stuff. Let us fix it. Let us make it up to you. In which case, awesome. I am a woman that will take my opinion and change things based on new evidence presented to me. So if Nintendo presents new evidence to make it a better argument to be an early adopter, cool. I'll be an early adopter. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with Nintendo. I like supporting video game companies. Video games are something that give me joy, that give me entertainment. So I'll support Sony, I'll support Microsoft, I'll support Nintendo. I don't want to see any of them fail, despite me being pissed off at any of them at any given time. Competition is good for everyone. I want to see Nintendo succeed for the success of Nintendo, for the success of Sony, for the success of Microsoft. Now, for the question that anyone watching probably has, will I be buying the Switch at all? Yes, probably. I'm a console collector at heart, specifically Nintendo, so shit, I kind of have to buy it. But I don't think I'm going to be an early adopter as it stands now. And even if a Pokemon game were to be launched and announced, Nintendo needs to do a few more things to make me say yes and make me adopt. However, I will maintain hope. With that said, guys, till next time, take care.